very pleased to have you here for today's program, Election 2012. What's in store for you and I and jobs in the economy, and a short look ahead at what the future might bring us, not only here in Orange County, but here in California and the region. Before we begin our program, I would like to take this opportunity to, on behalf of our president, Dr. Todd Burnett, and our Board of Trustees, to introduce the Vice President of Student Services, Dr. Juan Avalos. Would like to say a few words of welcome to you. Dr. Avalos.
Thanks, Rocky. Once again, I want to welcome you to Saddleback College and to this afternoon's panel discussion. President Burnett couldn't be here, but he believes strongly in these partnerships, these efforts. I want to say a few words about the partners that are responsible for today's event. As you all know, today's event's presented in collaboration with the South Orange County Regional Chamber of Commerce, our Saddleback College Business Center, Technological Department, Orange County Property Company, Orange County Business Council, Orange County Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, and the OC Business Journal. We have wonderful guests. We have a great keynote speaker. Will be a wonderful event. A couple things I wanted to share just about Saddleback College. You know, when I'm new to the district, about 2.5 years in. When I was researching this college and my position, there were a couple things that were coming forth about Saddleback College and this district. All of them had to do with excellence. Excellence in academic programs, excellence in technical programs, excellence in sports, those kinds of things. In the 2.5 years that I've been here, all of those accolades have been affirmed. This is a great institution in a great district. But one of the things that didn't come up when I was doing general research on the place that has been very clearly affirmed since my arrival is the belief and commitment that this college has to partnerships with local schools and local businesses, which I think is a hallmark of our institution. In the brief bio prior to this event and the press release, our president spoke a little bit about this event. I want to share some of his words. And he said, it is vital to the success of our students that we have strong partnerships with our local businesses, and I think that's felt very strongly. This morning, I was, as I often do when I have a minute or two, I was on LinkedIn, and I was reading some articles. And there was an article, I don't know if it came out today, but it's a recent one, and it seemed to be germane to the kind of thing we're doing today. And the article was entitled, Companies, Universities Must Collaborate on Skills Gap. And the interesting thing about that, the report that they were referencing noted that employers and universities, they were talking about universities primarily, and students or youth live in parallel universes. They have a very, very different take on the very same real issues. They quoted some responses in the survey that were, pretty striking in terms of the disconnect, right? In that survey, less than 50% of the young people and employers believe that new graduates were prepared for work upon graduation. Less than half, right? The universities that responded to that survey, by contrast, believe that 75% of everyone that graduated was ready to go when they were done. And so, it begs, the question and the importance of why, events like this, where you bring in folks from different parts of society with different perspectives and different lenses to attack the very same issues that impact us all. And I think there's a special place in our heart for small businesses, because I think community colleges and small businesses in many ways are the key to economic recovery, and we're in a position to provide quick, responsive approaches. So today's event is definitely in line with that. So we're going to be in the same universe for at least the next hour and a half. Thanks again. Welcome to Saddleback College, and I turn it to the formal program. Thank you.
Thank you, Juan. Well, I have the distinct pleasure of following up one, and before I introduce our keynote speaker and our faculty member who was the driving force behind much of what has gone on today, one of the things that I'd like to say is that Saddleback College has been in our sphere, our economic sphere now for almost 50 years. I was here when we celebrated our 40th anniversary. The reason that this is called the Ronald Reagan boardroom, and we have a beautiful bust of our former president outside of this boardroom, is because when he was Governor Reagan, he helped to dedicate the site upon which Saddleback College was dedicated. Now, Saddleback College over the years has been renowned for a number of different what we call signature programs. It's been renowned for its athletic program. It is renowned for its health sciences program and allied health training. It's been renowned for its fine arts program. But in the last couple of years, I think we've definitely been able to establish that Saddleback College is also open for business. Open for small business. We see small business as the economic driver that is going to move the needle in our neighborhoods. And today, you're a part of something that I think is very special. It's one of a series of kickoff events this year. It is going to expose our region to what we believe is a dynamic new entrepreneurship program at Saddleback College. Entrepreneurship has been identified by the Governor's Office of Business and Economic Development as one of the key priority sectors for Los Angeles and Orange County to develop. Another key priority sector is advanced manufacturing. Another key priority sector is one that I've mentioned already, and that's healthcare. Another one is business, finance, and accounting services. But let me talk just briefly about entrepreneurship and how dynamic and flexible small business education and small business training really is. The hallmark of our program here at Saddleback College thus far is being able to infuse entrepreneurship training across the curriculum, across the spectrum horizontally. So that if you are interested in pursuing a career in automotive technology, you will also have the opportunity to avail yourself of small business training, small business management. If you want to avail yourself of the training in any of a myriad of healthcare technologies that we've become so famous for, including nursing, you'll have the opportunity to also take a couple of entrepreneur classes here with our award-winning business faculty to learn how to be a care provider in your own right, and so on across the spectrum. So much so that there are other colleges and, in fact, universities that are interested in pursuing the very same model that we are developing here. Our end result, and I don't know when that's going to happen, is to leverage all this so that we will be recognized not only as a hub of business, entrepreneurship, and business science education, but also a provider of incubation services for aspiring small business people. That is our ultimate goal. We'd like to thank once again all of our signature partners that have made Election 2012, how the results will impact small business, this program to happen. I want to remind everybody that California has seen its ups and its downs over the course of history. Most of the booms that have occurred here in America have actually started here in California. We all remember the gold rush. That was the gold boom, right? Well, I don't know. I don't remember the gold rush. But we remember it from history. There was, of course, the agriculture boom of the early 20th century, the aerospace boom and the defense boom of the mid-20th century, and, of course, the technology boom of the late 20th and early 21st century. Hopefully today, we'll get an idea of what the next best thing might be. All of those booms were hinged on little acorns that became great oaks. The small business person, the entrepreneur, the innovator, the Hewletts, the Packards that started in their garage. That's a part of California lore. So hopefully we'll hear a little bit about that today. But before we go any further, I would like to ask you to look in your packets and notice the save the date card for our next big event, which is going to be called the OC Startup Summit. Save the date in mid-March, March the 15th, 2013. Because if you think today was special, folks, you ain't seen nothing yet. So without any further ado, I once again want to thank all of our signature partners. And before we go to our keynote speaker, I would like to introduce someone that was instrumental in helping to create this and make today possible. She's a very dynamic professor here in the Business Science Division. She teaches a variety of courses: advertising, marketing, entrepreneurship, social media marketing. She's a pleasure to have as a colleague, and she's even better as an instructor. I would like to introduce Professor Rebecca Knapp.
Thank you, Rocky, and thank you for everyone for coming out today. It's such an honor to have you all here and to have worked with so many divisional partners and community partners to pull this together and have some really dynamic, interesting speakers with us today. I've been here as long as one. We started the first year, and one of the things that I came on board wanting to do was, while I love my students and they are my dearest happiness out of my days, was to make a connection between the college and the real world and go out into the business community, not just for the benefit of our students, but for the benefit of our community as well. And so this is just the beginning of a dream come true for me as my role here as faculty, and hopefully in expanding what the division can do for the community and the role that we play everywhere in Orange County. So thank you for coming today, and I hope you enjoy our program. I have the honor of introducing our keynote speaker, and if you'll forgive me, I was not able to memorize the bio, but to give the background, Michael Villines, who was our former... It's all absolutely true. He's our former California State Assemblyman. He was elected to the California State Assembly in 2004 to represent the 29th Assembly District. During his 6 years in the Assembly, he provided vision and direction as the caucus formed its legislative agenda and negotiated the state budget. His leadership skills and the loyal following of his colleagues set the tone for many public policies advances, including, specifically related to business, major tax code reform to encourage business development in California, the formation of public-private partnerships to bring public works projects online faster, and balancing environmental protection with economic development by streamlining regulations that allowed growth in our economy and the protection of our natural resources simultaneously. So much wonderful work done by Mike Villines. It's a pleasure and my distinct honor to welcome you and to introduce you to our panel, our audience.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. Thank you for the nice introduction. There's two people I want to really acknowledge before I start. Diane Harkey, who was my colleague, who any success we had was a big part of that. So Diane, thanks, and it's nice to see you. And it's great to come down to, you always, in caucus, she would always say, you've got to come down to Orange County. Well, I'm from Fresno. It's very similar. You know, we have the ocean right next to us too. It's just 3 hours away. We have fog, but we have it where you can't move 2 inches. You have it and it burns off in the afternoon. But I never really got a chance to come down as much. And so now being here, I realize how important it was. And I think that's great. And where's Emily? Is she still here? She is still in the back. I knew Emily because she worked in the caucus when I was in the legislature. She actually wrote our speeches. That's why I have nothing now. So I'm in trouble, but I know her by her original name. Now Emily is married and her last name is Smith, right? But she's working down here as one of your corporate partners, and it's just great to see you. And I'm happy that you're married and you're doing well down here. Yeah, give her a round of applause, too. It's always good to see one of our colleagues move on, and if she keeps doing well, maybe she can give me a job in a couple of years, so just keep moving up. I want to take a lot of questions, so I'm hopeful that you'll have questions. I really don't want to talk for 20 minutes or 30 minutes, but I'll share a few thoughts. And if you have a question as I'm going through, feel free, to ask. And I'm going to ask a few questions too. I want to say, Rocky, thank you for picking me up. I had a pleasure coming down and getting to know you. Obviously, this is a special place. First of all, it's a beautiful campus, very motivated. The students here have been fantastic. Just seeing this room, this format, it speaks a lot to what you're doing. And I appreciate you tell me about your life and how our fathers, it's a long story. He's originally from the Bronx. I'm from Fresno, and who knows, our dads could have known each other in the middle of the Central Valley, so you have to ask them the story sometime. Thank you for the nice introduction and give me a chance to come down and speak. I don't know who canceled on you, but I'm glad they did, and I'm glad to be here. Let's start off with a question. You don't have to answer this question. You don't have to do it if you're uncomfortable, because I'm not really a partisan guy. And being out of the legislature 2 years, you get less partisan. Being in the legislature, you're sort of forced to do it because it's so razor sharp when you're up in Sacramento. So if you don't want to answer, you don't have to. But this election that we just had was either really, really good or really, really bad. So who feels like it was really good in general? All right? I thought there'd be more than that. Who felt that, and again, this isn't personal. We're not labeling a person. I'm not doing that. I mean, we're talking about small business, sort of that. Who thinks it was really, really bad? Okay, that's Orange County. That's what I'm used to. That's kind of like Fresno. But it's interesting to me. As I've given a few speeches on the elections, and I'm convinced having, I'm a child, frankly. I've grown up in government and politics. My mom was an active grassroots person, so we were the family that did this stuff around the table. We talked about it. That's all I ever wanted to do. When somebody, said they wanted to be a professional baseball player, if they asked that question, I said, I want to be in the legislature. I was one of those people. So I felt very blessed to be able to have done it. But those 6 years in there, I mean, my goodness, those 6 years you learn a lot. And I like being out. What I've learned is that the partisanship in there is never as strong as it is on the outside. And the opinions that we have are never really about just one person. They're really about policies. And I'm convinced that there's a lot of things that have occurred in this election that we actually could get behind and start to see some progress. Most of my friends are still trying to, come out of a fog wondering what happened in the election. That's what they're thinking, right? They're thinking, wow, if you're a Republican, you're never going to come out of this. What does that mean for the future? What does that mean for small business? A lot of my friends that are small business owners that are Democrats will say, hey, finally we're going to get a shake, and it's not going to go to the top 2% and nobody else. So somewhere in there, we have to find a way to exist in that, right? I think some of the nuggets that are interesting to me are this. Well, first of all, look at just the complete domination of the Democrat Party in the election. There's no gray area there. So the legislature is a supermajority in both houses. I don't think that was anticipated. Diane, was that anticipated in both caucuses? I don't think so. So it was just one of those years. And again, the worm always turns. The Republicans in 1994 did it. Nobody thought that was going to happen, and they took over and had a speakership. So it'll happen again in some time. But when you have a domination like that, the question has to be asked, are we going to overreach? Is the Democrat majority going to overreach? Are they going to kind of come to the middle, or are they going to just sort of continue a march to the left? For those in here, small business owners, who are small business owners in here? Excellent. So you guys your boots are on the ground, so and that's why I'd love to hear from you. The regulations that have been coming out of Sacramento are very, very difficult on you. The regulations, I would think, at least from what I've learned, and I can't say that I'm in the same shoes you are, but what I've heard consistently over now 8 years, almost 10 years, is if we could just have regulations a little smarter, we're not as worried about the tax code. We'd just like to have some consistency. We'd like to know that things that we can plan on aren't going to change every 6 months. Part of my fear is you're already hearing the election just a large amount of policy changes that could be significant to small businesses. And we can talk about some of those. As I was doing a little research just to talk with you guys, I went through some websites that were really, really very helpful. And I assume you're a part of these organizations, but I would encourage you. I actually do some work for the California Chamber of Commerce, so I want to plug them first and say, be a part of the chamber. And I know that the Orange County Chamber here too, both websites will give you a list of what they call job killer bills and other things that you can look at. And I think there's a lot of information there that's helpful. The NFIB, the National Federation of Independent Businesses, is anybody here a part of that? Very good website, very active in the legislature. One of the few small business groups who took positions and aggressively spent money against Prop 30 on the tax initiative when most didn't do that. A lot of information in there. So I encourage you to kind of go and look at that. Of course, Lucy Dunn, who's not here, her organization does a great job here locally. But as I was looking through those, they are very, very concerned about what that's going to do to you, the small business owners, and what this legislature will do. I think the opportunity is this. I think the legislature is going to look less like Republican and Democrat and start to look a little bit more like a parliament government, like coalitions. I think you're going to start to see what, and I don't think labels work real well. And Diane, you'll see I struggle with some of these labels. We're going to use them, but I don't think that you can say somebody's just a conservative and put them into one camp. I don't think you can say somebody's just a liberal and put them into one camp. I think that right now, with the makeup of the body, you're going to see people from the Democrat side and the Republican side who are looking at small business owners and realize that the impacts are to families if they don't do something, and start to get together on key initiatives. What could some of those key initiatives be? There's a Democrat senator who has already said in CEQA, many of you know about CEQA, that he is willing to take on that issue. He's working with Republicans already. He wants to get something done on that. That would be a big deal for agriculture in my area, but it would be a big deal for manufacturing down here, and it would trickle down. That would be a significant issue. Tax reform. I mean, you're going to see more taxes. There's no getting around that. But people want to see some kind of consistency, something that makes sense, that's more fair. And even though you're reading a lot of headlines that says it's going to be, really, we're just going to tax everything, I suspect that people will come to the middle a little bit and find a way to do it. Why? Because we're still broke. We have not come out of this recession in any way. We still have a long ways to go. In fact, Governor Brown just put out, $225 million in cuts to, I forget who it was, but he just announced it yesterday. So he's preparing a budget that clearly shows he's doing more cuts. Even though he's got more money, he's being responsible and saying, I'm not going to spend more than we have, at least at this point. So I think you'll see that. I think you're going to see a long list of small business type of issues through NFIB and the Chamber and others where they say, we don't have to change the world, but why can't we just make sure that we have, if you're getting permits, there's one place to go. So the governor's office opened up, I think it's called BizGo or Go Biz. Are you familiar with that? You know what? That's a great opportunity, and it's going to segue into something I want to talk about. What we have now are these opportunity to work with legislators and start to get them to come into your business. The one thing this election did, that besides being a domination in terms of just the politics, this is all about its local politics now. Before, I've served in a seat where literally you could die and you would still get reelected. It was impossible for a Republican to lose. In fact, there was a seat in LA County years ago where that actually happened and the person still won on the ballot. And the Democrat side, those seats don't exist anymore. There's parts of them, but everybody has to work their districts now. You can't just be in Sacramento and do your job and do what you used to do and then come home, because guess what now? You have an open primary, you have this top two, you've got an ability for, on a seat where it would only be a Democrat, or in case of my seat, only Republican. We had a big runoff, for example, in my old seat between somebody who was a business Republican and who didn't get onto any other issues, and somebody who was also a business Republican but wanted to get into some other, more traditional issues in the Central Valley. It was a real defining moment for who would get that seat. You're going to see that. You in this room, the small business owners, have the ability to completely affect elections now. So let me ask a question. Of those business owners or anybody else, who is given politically, financially, who's given your own money to candidates? Okay? Who of the small business owners have done that? It's harder because you're not right. Now, I'm going to just share an example with you. If you're a teacher, you may give $25, $50, $100 a month into a fund. The CTA will go have money and they will spend it on elections. Small business folks, as a general rule, you don't have that. You don't have that kind of money, but you need to be active. And I'm not saying you're fighting them. What I'm making the point is that those groups, many groups, have a tremendous amount of money and can affect policy. And when that happens, you can see elections that will go on all kinds of issues that we wonder why there are 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 initiatives on the ballot. The business community, small businesses, through your group, the chambers, through the NFIBs, through your local business councils, you must be involved financially. You've got to be able to play in politics because that's how changes happen. If you want to change the politicians, if you want to change the policies, you have to change the politicians. So it's important to do that. But it's not like just a financial thing. It's also, how many of you that have small businesses have invited people to come to your property and see your business? Excellent. You've done that? Or was that just a twitch? Were you? You have. Tell me about it. I'm just curious.
You invite them so that you can have a voice.
Right. So was it a local elected? Was it school board? Was it? Yeah. That is going to change things. Right now you have a legislature, and we've talked about it, it may be dominated, but because you have to work your district, men and women who serve are going to be very open to listening to common sense, tweaks. And if you bring them to your business and you show them, this wage and hour issue, this is how it affects me. I can't employ 5 more people because I'm going to go over a certain line.